Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever or whoever you may be. I am Alan Arante, and this is the Recluse podcast. Today's guest is Falcon. He is an artist in Southern California and was born in 1983. He is originally from Australia, but moved to California in the early 2000s to pursue a career in music. He drummed for a band called Day of Contempt, and that band was gaining a lot of steam at that time. They had just been signed to Epitaph Records, they had just come off a tour, and they had played with a lot of big hardcore bands in that day. So they played with Atreyu, Bleeding Through, Parkway Drive, and a lot of other big hardcore acts. The band didn't end up working out, but rather than move back to Australia, Falcon decided to stay in the States. In 2015, Falcon got into a terrible motorcycle accident. It resulted in the loss of his arm, his right arm. He sustained many other injuries that we talk about throughout the interview. And obviously, it was a defining moment for him. As you will see in this conversation, he is a motivated and passionate individual. The birth of his son a couple months after that accident would be the perfect distraction for him. He says that there wasn't even really time to wallow in his depression and pain, given that he was now a father. I appreciate his willingness to talk about such a devastating and traumatic event in his life. He has turned to painting since then, and I think the best is yet to come for him. There's something special about him. So without further delay, this is a portrait of Falcon.
Came out here, loved Cali, loved the US, did like a 3-week tour, spent an extra 2 weeks at the end of the tour in Cali because we knew people here, Orange County, LA, other bands, etc., from playing with them when they would go to Australia. So we had network out here. It wasn't like, throw the dart at the world map and it hit Cali. Like we had guys, we had places to live at as soon as we got off the plane. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't just this crazy out of nowhere move. I mean, it takes forever to get a visa, you know what I mean? So it was a big deal. And when you're 19, it's a hell of a big deal. And you're living at home, you know, like...
Oh, it's a huge deal.
It's kind of crazy, like... And don't get me wrong, my parents have known Dad Contempt because they were my boys. You know, both bands were friends. Everyone knew each other. Like, Dan had tattooed my parents as well. Like, my parents, you know, for being a religious household, they're pretty rad. Like, you'd have no idea what my dad knows religiously. Obviously retired now, but, like, he looks like a biker. But you know what I mean? Like, they're pretty chill and down to earth. So they knew who I was moving with, you know, and, you know, Dan was living with me before we moved to America because we were saving up and stuff. You know? We were like brothers, you know. It was more, okay, you're okay to move with those guys, Joe, but that's big bad America. That's where kids are killing other kids in high school. That's where my parents' head went. It was instantly my safety. Not, I hope our son turns into the next Bono. You know, like, it was like our little boys, and I'm the youngest, you know. So it was all around crazy for everybody involved, which made it even more intense.
Day of Contempt, I was listening to through, let's see, what's the album called? It's, I listened to Through the Lies, See Through the Lies LP. And, you know, it actually reminded me, I hope this isn't like an insult, because to me, I would think it's a compliment, but it reminded me a lot of Atreyu. Are you familiar with that band?
Right. So, yeah.
It might have been the same time period, maybe,
that
they were playing.
There's flyers out there of Atreyu Day of Contempt shows.
Oh, really? Oh, you played with Atreyu before?
Yeah, like, they know who I am. I know them.
But that was like the heyday of that kind of hardcore, so that must have been bananas.
But they're from OC as well. So we were playing with bands that were maybe bigger than them.
Oh, wow.
So that's why we would always end up on the bill. Like, Bleeding Through from OC, we lived with them when we moved to Orange County from LA. So we did LA first, knew all the hardcore metal bands down in OC, from playing with them in Australia, because we were, Dave Contempt, I wasn't even in the band then. And Dave Contempt was direct support for all those metal bands from over there, So,
right. What about
and buy a Dave Contempt t-shirt.
Is Parkway Drive from Australia?
Correct. So we played with them at their YMCA youth hall in Byron Bay, and there was about 400 kids, all with blonde hair, in killing each other to every song.
Wow.
How ironic's this? We play with Parkway Drive. We stay at Winston's house. He lives down the street from the local youth hall, where the show's being held. We're like, do they have a PA system? All right, here we go. We heard of this band, and they're killing it in their hometown. Let's play with these kids, And they blew my mind away. Yeah, they covered a Bleeding Through song. And I don't think we'd moved to America yet. But it's kind of ironic. They sing that song, and then I'm living with the singer of that band in Orange County.
So back in those days, you've been on the road. You played with Atreyu, Parkway Drive, Bleeding Through. Right. You were in a hardcore. I would call it hardcore for lack of better terms. Yeah. You were in a hardcore band that was active during probably the best period in that hardcore scene with those bands. Do you look back on those days with happiness or fondness or more of like sadness? Do you miss those days? Or, how do you feel when you think about that time period in your life?
It was funny. I was actually talking to my friend JJ. He's the singer of D's Nuts, and he has his solo kind of hip-hop stuff going on. And we actually FaceTimed the other night and talked about that. He was the drummer of I Killed the Prom Queen, who were also quite large before Parkway Drive were. Parkway Drive were like the surf rats that were like coming up, and like I noticed them, and I was like, that band's good, and everyone noticed them. It was just one of those things. So like that Contempt was already going on before Parkway Drive, or at least they were busier. That's a better word. We'd been that Contempt were around longer, But we're like, man, these kids are killing it. And like, wow, these off the wall shows at this like youth. Let's go. Like, let's all go. We'll all stay at Winston's house and we'll make flyers, or they make flyers. However, it was amazing. Like, even to look back now and see how huge Parkway Drive are, and I'll randomly YouTube them and look at them playing live in Europe. My mind's just blown. I just think of the youth hall,
Those days just bring you joy then, to think back on those days.
Oh, yeah. Unless you had a rough childhood, when do you not look back after leaving a country, after spending, 18 years there, 19 years there, unless you had a horrible upbringing, I think everybody's answer should be yes.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like,
no, it makes 100%.
People that are like, oh yeah, I was born there and I left when I was 20, but it's not home. No way. Like, I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that. I want to meet.
Yeah, I don't think I have either.
Like, if there is a person, I don't know. Maybe they can call in and be like, you know what, Norway sucks. I lived there for 20 years. I live in America now.
So you moved to California from Australia, and you had this experience, and you toured with Dave Contempt and all these things. You had a child, and something really influential happened to you. You got in an insane accident. How old were you when you got in your motorcycle accident?
That was 2015.
That wasn't that long ago. That must feel like yesterday to you.
Yeah, I could. If it was a movie or something, I think I'd have to play myself because I remember it so good.
Oh, really?
It'd be hard for me to. It would take a long time for me to sit down with someone and give them the full picture, because to me, I have the full picture. Like, literally, and it sounds exaggerated, and people might think that, and that's fine. But put on Forensic Files tonight, right? How long are the episodes? 30 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
An hour? Right?
Yeah.
And the next morning, I'm going to ask you what that Forensic Files episode. Just watch one of them, And you can probably break that down pretty good to me the next morning, right? Like, oh, this crazy husband killed the family, and he used to wear flannels, I guess. And, you could go into it pretty good. Like, that's how it is for me.
Wow.
It's that. I remember what I was thinking. I remember what part of, just to come full circle, another great Orange County hardcore band called Ignite, I was listening to the third song off their second to last record.
Wow.
I'm not kidding. It was in my headphones. I would have one headphone in, and that's how I used to ride my bike. And like that level of detail.
So what happened? I mean, you're on the road, and all of a sudden, what happens?
Home. I was doing construction, and it was kind of funny. That morning, I woke up at 5. I was doing construction. Wasn't doing any art stuff. I was just not doing the band stuff anymore. Things slowed down. Guys went back to Australia. A couple of guys stayed like me that originally moved. Met someone, settled down, whatever. So I was doing kind of odd jobs. And it was, okay, my partner's pregnant. I'm going to have a kid. I need to really get jobs, My bartending's not going to cut it. I just, first child, head went into overdrive, freaking out. Parents in Australia, stoked, freaking out. Like, it was just, need to make money. That's all I thought. I'm having a kid. And I've never been a lazy dude. I'll get to my job 20 minutes and sit in my car early. I'll wake up like this morning, at 7 a.m. to go shoot some short film for no reason at all, just because me and a guy want to do it. Like, motivation's always been there. So, I had 2 jobs, construction, bartending, would ride my Harley to work, and someone clipped me in the carpool on the way to work. And I kept it up, and I took the next exit, shat a brick, got back on the freeway, went to work.
Wow.
Didn't lay it down, but they clipped my handlebar, their mirror. They were too close. And I wasn't even splitting lanes enough. But, and that terrified me. And literally 8 hours later, I was riding home. It's now 2 p.m, because we'd start early. I was doing just demolition work. And I was riding home, and I missed the exit because we'd just moved down there to Huntington Beach, California, which also reminds me of Australia. But I was riding home. It's 2 p.m. This old lady, I could tell she had white hair. She was in a big silver car, and she was facing me in the turn lane, if that makes sense. So it's going to be hard to show you with hand signals, with one hand signals. To describe it that way would be way easier. But so kind of stay with me. I'm approaching the light. I have a green light. She's coming towards me. There's no island, okay? No island, just the double yellow. She's coming towards me, and we're approaching the light. So I'm in the middle lane of 3. There's no one behind me, no one either side of me. It was like I was the only one on the freeway. On the main, it's a pretty main street where it happened. But it's 3 lanes wide, but it's not a freeway. It's just So I'm in the middle lane. She goes in the turn lane and stops on the first arrow. There's no one in front of her. The cars behind her are way back. I remember that. Because I thought I was going to die. Because I wasn't sure exactly how far back the cars were. But half of me, after I hit her car, realized, okay, they were way back. No one's going to run me over. That was my fear.
Oh my God! So you thought that in the air, basically. Is that what you thought? I mean, were you in the air?
On the ground, I was like, I'm going to get run over.
Oh,
and I remember trying to look back. I had my helmet on. I had a full face, and I was like, I remember not seeing cars for a long time.
Oh my God!
And then there was already people standing over me, so I was like, okay, I'm not going to get run over. It's safe. There's 5 people around me. Cool. But anyway, she's in the turn lane.
Yeah, go ahead.
She goes over the double yellow early on an angle to the gas station.
Oh.
Does that make sense? So
yes.
There's no one in front of her, and she's stopped. She's at the signal, but she's 80 feet back from the light. So I think she ran out of gas. Because I see the gas station's on the right-hand side of me. And then she starts to creep as I'm approaching the light, doing like 70. It's like a 65 zone, I believe, or 60. I can't remember. It's not slow. You know, we're not talking there's schools around. It's like a main strip, you know, like a good-size exit off the freeway. And I'm entering the green light, and she's sideways crawling in front of me.
Wow.
Like, I swear to God, my 5-year-old could run quicker than that car. Like, he would have started behind her car and would have got to the driveway to the gas station before her. I remember it was like, what the, like, so I just locked it up and I tried to swing around the back of her trunk. So she's pretty much dead sideways now.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, tires aren't even near the driveway. I'm in line with her passenger door. And I go to turn around the back of her, and I just stay sideways. I was going too fast. So when I went to make the left to go around the back of her trunk, my bike just stayed sideways.
Yeah.
And I just remember sliding like it was a goddamn water slide. It went forever. I braced myself, and I was like, I'm never going to meet my son. That's all I thought.
Wow.
And boom. It was like a cannon went off 3 inches from my ears. I still remember the song going on, Ignite Plant, singing along real loud in my helmet. It was just like, boom. It was like that. Like, you know, but in the mindset process, like, it's true. When people say, like, everything flashed before my eyes, you think of everyone important. And it's so quick. It's like they're all together in a room. It's just like, boom. You see them all. But it's kind of individually. It's so quick, but it's real. Like, when you hear people saying that, like, my life flashed before my eyes, like, that's real shit. Like, I was like, you know, my son, you know, you picture this, like, baby, it's your first child, you know? He's doing 3 months, you know what I mean? Like, and boom. And it was crazy. It was crazy.
And you sustained so many injuries. Let me just read them off. You can
list of those? Can you DM me those?
Yeah, sure.
I forgot what happened to me. I know.
So here's some of it. I think there might even be more, but this is what I tracked. So there was obviously some brain bleeding that caused damage to your nervous system. There was subdural hematoma, shattered femur, broken foot, multiple compound fractures, dislocated wrist, broken arm, spinal bruising. You had to have a metal rod put in your leg. You obviously had some loss of memory and speech after that. And I think it's more than that. You ended up losing your arm. I mean, did your body just crunch in just an instant during that accident? I mean, how did it feel to sustain that impact? I mean, it just sounds like you were shot out of a cannon, like you said.
Yeah, I like hearing that list. I might have to do that therapy. It's just play that list every morning. You know, when I do need to get up extra early, that can be my motivation or alarm. Like, physically, you know, touching on that, physically, you don't feel anything. Like, I was laying on the ground having a conversation. So, like, for real. And I
the adrenaline was just rushing.
I know what he looks like, and I know what brand of helmet he was wearing because he was filling up his motorcycle and witnessed it all.
Oh, my God.
And I remember him leaning over me, talking to me, and he was like a damn angel.
Wow.
A straight damn angel. Didn't give a police report. I've contacted every single name on that police report. Said, do you ride a motorcycle? Do you ride a motorcycle? Do you ride a motorcycle? Did you witness this accident? Guess what? It's me. Surprise. But do you ride a motorcycle? You know? Like, I've done my homework to find the dude. That's how important that guy is.
Wow. Did you find him?
He was talking to me. He's like, where are you from? He literally, bro, I swear to God, was talking like that. Like his sister, and I'm dating her. You know? Like, he was chatting like that. Like, the get-to-know-you game, you know? Like, hey, man, where's your accent from? Right on. And I just remember, I was like, this dude is like the chillest guy I've ever met in my life. I feel no pain. Like your body shuts off. It physically does.
Right.
Like you can't feel pain. Like even if you try to. Like that's how off it is. So I'm laying like I've already had been injected with some chill meds or something.
Oh my
like
God.
I was just instant relaxed, you know? But it's scary too because you have the thought of like death or something, you know?
Yeah.
I remember I kept blinking. I was like, okay, this is going on. Because I'm pretty straight shooter. Like a lot of things are black and white, you know, to me when it comes to situations. And I'm like, no, okay, no, this is happening. I'm not one of those people that be like, oh, I'm dying. Is he real? Like it wasn't that. Like I knew what was going on, but it was just weird because I knew it was real bad, but I couldn't film it.
Right.
And I remember tripping. And I was like, this dude's chill. Like, is this the start of heaven? Like, because everything's way mellow right now, and I know it should be utter chaos. And then it's like, boom, that chaos button gets pushed, and you realize, like, really what's going on.
Wow.
You know,
my God.
Not pain-wise, but oh, here comes all the actors that are now going to play. It's actually a big deal part. You know, there goes my knight in shining armor. Now it's ladies screaming at me not to rip my helmet off. Now I notice there's millions of particles of glass inside my helmet. And I'm worried my eyes are going to bleed out. And the lady's still screaming for me to take my helmet off. And I look up and I'm like, that's the lady with the white hair in the car standing over me with the red cardigan on, you know, or whatever.
Wow.
Like, you know what I mean? It was just like, I think that could be her, like, or whatever, you know, like.
Did you think that you would?
I just remember the top of it, you know, and I don't remember she standing over me, but I remember the only person I saw was that guy because he was leaning over me with the helmet, but everything kicked in whenever I think more people ran over because it got loud. God. It got loud and like people were yelling directions at me. And I remember like an older lady to my left with white hair. I don't know if my driver got out, but I don't know. If you look at the odds, it probably was her. You know?
Were you laying there thinking that you were going to die? Was that what you were thinking?
No, that's right. The guy, see how stuff just comes back to me? Like, why does it come back to me? You know what I mean? Like, it's been that, why is it so clear? And I'll forget about parts and then I'll remember them. It's weird. Like, just random memories will just jump in, you know, that I'd even forgotten about maybe for a while, you know? So it's cool, it's cool to get into it again. But I remember I remember being able to see the bottom of my foot facing my face, my right leg. So my leg was like broken around.
Fuck.
So you know you can bend your leg backwards. It went like I'm doing it right now. So it's kind of hard. You're sitting on your butt on the floor, legs out straight, right? Imagine your calf goes straight up, and then your foot bends the same way towards your face.
So it was like very broken. You know?
Yeah, so I could see my foot in the air, and I wasn't trying to put it in the air.
Right,
I remember it went to the side, and then I remember he was telling me what was up with me. He's like, your leg's mashed, dude, but remember, he's the chillest dude ever. I don't know who he is. He's like, your leg's bad, and like, your arm's broken, dude, but you're good. You know what I mean? Like, you're good.
Wow. My God.
And he was getting gas. This is going to blow your mind. Be prepared for this. This is like, set off the fireworks sample right now. So a friend of mine was driving past the accident. She was the car behind the lady, right? Behind the old lady. She takes a photo, okay? Doesn't know it's me. Doesn't know I even live in HB now because I hadn't seen that girl in like 10 years. This is going to blow your mind. She takes the photo, puts it on Facebook. Pray for this guy. I don't know who he is, but me and my daughter witnessed it. I have the photo in my phone.
Oh, my God.
So, but let me tell you how I got it, you know. She posted it on Facebook. My friend Jolie lost, I would say a friend of mine, Mitch, lost her husband, Mitch, to a motorcycle accident. He used to ride the same bike as mine, and his accident was in Huntington Beach about 3 years prior. And I rode my bike to where his accident happened, where he was killed. And he used to sing in a band from here, a metal band called Suicide Silence.
No kid. Oh my God. Are you kidding?
I'm not kidding. So Mitch is passed, but Jolie has a daughter with Mitch, And so it's kind of crazy that Jolie saw that post because she's friends with her. Okay? Jolie doesn't know Crystal, my partner, at all. They're not Facebook friends. I've talked about Mitch and Jolie, obviously, to her, but she hasn't met him, right? Mm-hmm. So Jolie sees the post because she's friends. They both live in HB, Jennifer and Jolie. So they're like tight, So obviously brings back bad memories when Jolie saw the post because of Mitch. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. Jolie, she was one of the first solid friends that were a girl that I met in America. I've known that girl a really long time. She sees the photo, it clicks. Oh, I saw on Instagram Joel's moving to Huntington Beach. Oh, no.
Yeah.
So she goes, I think I know the dude. Jennifer's like, what the F? She's like, remember Joel? I don't know how that conversation went down. And because Crystal had already put in the post, about me. She was at the hospital, right?
Yeah.
And tagged me in it. So my friends were able to see it. Mm-hmm. Jolie sees photo, then sees Crystal's post, even though she's not friends with her on Facebook, and sends the photo to my partner while I lay in utter hell, one room over. Wow. How's that? I get my phone back after I wake up and have a bunch of surgeries, and now my family's in the hospital from Australia, and there's an Australian flag hanging up, and I'm totally cooked on drugs, just high as a kite, touching my dad because I was hallucinating that it wasn't not kidding. I'd start falling asleep, but I'd be awake and think spiders were coming on me, and I'd grab my dad.
Oh my God.
He said that I would swear that was going on for days. Oh. Trying to convince my dad that there were spiders coming down from the roof. It was like a nightly level of stuff I was on.
Wow.
I was on heavy stuff, so it was a trip to be like, oh, that's right, I'm having a kid soon. You know what I mean? And my parents are here. And whatever. So I get my phone back, I see all these messages. It's Crystal's like, wow, I met Jolie, she has this photo, mm-hmm. I'm like, what? Well, I didn't even know Jennifer. And then kind of remember her, because it'd been so long. It's weird how the world works. It's weird how the power went out in my apartment while Crystal was pregnant at home, waiting for me to get home or whatever. Literally at the same time as the accident. There was just a lot of crazy stuff. A lot of crazy stuff, like ironic stuff and, lessons learned. And, but I remember it like it was nothing, and I'd rather talk about the whole thing than just just because I'm comfortable with it and I want people to realize stuff happens.
It's it's so hard to imagine. And what I mean is I can
made up, huh?
I can visually imagine it. But for me,
imagine I'm doing an Uber ride right now, and you're in the back, and I'm your driver, and I just told you that, and then in two lights time, I look in the mirror and I look you in the eye, and I'm like, it happened 2 lights ahead.
Wow, have you done that?
And that's happened maybe 2 or 3 times.
Oh my God!
So, but it's rad because I'm like, and guess what? It's just like. Or I'm like, hey, it actually happened 3 intersections back, or we're 1 block away from it, or, it actually happened a mile to our left, and people are just like, shit, this is real. I go to that gas station, or I know the school on the other corner. You know what I mean? And I don't know, I like blasting people with reality, It's, with anything, I think. Not even me. If you had a cool story for me to share about you because we're homies, and I know it can maybe help someone out, or whatever, you know what I mean? Or just, especially if good has come from it,
You were talking about how you see your family, you get in the accident and your family goes through your head. You're sad. You're instantly sad because you're not going to get to meet your unborn son. But you survive it, and are you conscious and awake to see your son born? So how did that play out when your son was born? Were you still in a bed?
No, I was walking. I think I had a walking stick. I was still on stuff prescribed to me, which just kind of numbs you out, and chills you out because your body's throbbing,
Yeah.
The only way I could probably pull off the feeling to someone without killing him or getting him way too close to being killed, probably go a full 3 rounds with Tyson.
Wow.
Like in the boxing state you are in right now. I throw gloves on you and you get in the ring and you go 6 minutes straight.
Oh my God.
That would be the only way I think you would honestly feel. That would be the only way we could pull off feeling the way I did, I think, without you dying.
Right.
Because you could maybe block a few that would have killed you, and maybe even then he still might kill you because he's a beast or whatever, But I remember it would hit me, and I would just but it was such a perfect distraction, It was, I nearly died, haha, life, you suck, I win, because I'm back, and I'm having a kid, and it's the most opposite thing that could possibly happen to me happen. Literally.
But I'm curious about
live mentally without something like that happening, and being like, oh, you were in a funk. This will entertain you. This will force you to look the other direction, if you like it or not, because that fool needs a dad. And guess what? Your heart's still beating. You're up. It was kind of like that. It was a real suck it up, dude. Because you're changing diapers with one arm. And we didn't even really know if my arm was still going to come back because it was paralyzed, but they were hoping it would regenerate. So my arm was in a sling, completely dead. And boom, son's born, go time. Time to be dad. And, now only 10% of the week I'm being a bummer and depressed and breaking down. Probably more. There was probably a lot of overlap where I would have breakdowns out of nowhere, yet my son
right.
And I'm a new dad, and then it would be like, boom, the other feeling would kick in. Man, I'm going to wake him up. I just want to see him open his eyes again. It's like perfect distraction, man, he said something. Oh, man, first tooth, or whatever. It's like that cool reminder. Like when your phone goes off and it's an alarm, but you hate the tone and you remember it was a cool alarm that you set. There was a cool reason to it, right?
Right.
Pick up check from Danny for 35 grand. Oh, yes. I love that alarm noise now. It was like that.
Right.
It was, man, my leg hurt. Man, hopefully my arm works again. Oh, my neck. Wah, wah, wah. Yes. I guess I get to feed him. And I'm going to do it one-handed. And I'm going to change a diaper. And Crystal needs sleep. She hasn't slept in 2 days. And you get over it. You know what I mean? You have no other way unless you really go down that dark road. And it breaks you early. I kind of didn't really have time to go, my life's over. Because he came so soon. It was question, answer, perfect. Looking back, mind you, I was in dying pain, bro. The pain ain't, it's still an issue. We're 5 years later. I still can't sleep on it. I got to sleep a certain way when I go to bed. You know what I mean? So it never stopped. It was just insane back then, looking back. Because I'm like, whoa, and that'd be nice. I just couldn't sleep, laying on my back, and I'm dying in pain. Then he's crying. But Crystal hasn't slept in 3 days. So I'm like, suck it up. Where's the walking stick? For real. It's laying on its side. On the floor. Can't bend over. Hang on, Grayson, I'll be right there. I'm the guy from Up. You know what I mean? But it was because I was all banged up, But
Well, have you ever been a complainer? Have you ever complained about things in your life?
Yeah, but it was always stupid stuff. Like the real stuff I've always been good at. It was just stupid stuff.
But you have this. You sort of mentioned it earlier. Exactly, that's what I was going to say.
And, get a job early. Screw school. I don't need to finish school for what I want to do because music's full on and whatever, and it takes up a lot of my time. You got to ask permission to go on tour because you work at a timber yard. And the tour for 4 weeks. How many bosses are like, "You're welcome back, tattoo boy"? They're like, "Get out of here! You're gonna leave us for 4 weeks, then just think your job's gonna be there?" No, it was new jobs all the time. Then it was like, "Well, let's move to America." It was always hard working.
Right.
I'm a morning person. I'll be up at 5 tomorrow. And I'll paint till maybe midnight tonight, and my alarm will go off at 5.
So you got.
Yeah, 5.
So you got in your accident, and you say that you didn't have time to wallow in your despair, even though you were in pain because you had your son shortly after this accident. So with your work ethic,
it was there. The depression,
okay, right.
But you had so we didn't know the extent of my arm. So I'm waking up going, okay, neck braces because of some bruised spine, but they think it's completely fine. It's just precautionary. So I kind of came to and was like, I don't really have a lot going on. I got a broken leg. Cool. No issue. And a neck brace. And my arm's going to return again. It's just tripping right now. And I broke that wrist. So that's why that arm's in a cast. It was gnarly stuff to wake up to, if that makes sense. It doesn't, the list is long, but a lot of those were they're mellow, I guess. I don't know. I'm just so chill about it now. But, they are serious things, but they were all, I was going to be complete at one point. So I think I really focused on that. My arm's going to come back. This cast is going to be off in a week. They said, cool. And my son's coming, but the pain sucks. It was more that, not, man, my arm's never going to come back and I'm going to have it removed. That wasn't even in the thought process, right?
Wow.
Because they hadn't even told me how bad the nerve damage was. So I'm like, okay, broken up, sweet. And my fingers don't move because my nerves are still tripping. Okay, That's how my mind was at for a couple of weeks, And then they're like, need nerve tests or whatever it may be, But yeah, it was just kind of crazy, But yeah, there was kind of always hope, but again, I never raised the bar high. I was already, okay, if it doesn't come back, because I haven't had any sensation, so my hopes aren't really that high anyway. So organically, I started thinking worst case scenarios because I'm like, if my fingers still haven't moved and we're 6 weeks out and physical therapy ain't doing much, I'm ready to let's not beat around the bush kind of guy. Let's be straight. And I'd always be like that. I'm like, tell me straight, doc. And they're like, okay, 94% chance you're going to have feeling. Okay, thanks for the surgery. Cool.
So you get in this.
I was going to have it removed. That was already in the car.
That's what you were expecting?
Yeah, me and the doctor were talking. I was like, I want it off. If it doesn't work, I'm not carrying this around. It's been months. The weight of it alone. I want it off. If it doesn't work, because I know it might not work. And I'm thinking worst case scenario because I want to prepare myself. And she was like, that's fine, Joe. We can take it off wherever you want and whenever you want after you wait that year to see if it regenerates. I mean, I was having dreams, man. I had one arm and my arm was still attached to me. That's how crazy it was. It was like, I'm rocking it. It's on, And literally I booked it for the most earliest appointment from that year mark. That's how confident I knew. And was, I guess it would be kind of sickly okay with it. Because everyone's like, you're nuts. When your arm doesn't work for a week, it's kind of a trip. When your arm doesn't work for 2 months, it stops being a trip and you're like, really? It gets real. Then you go 8 months like that, slamming your door on it. It's burning on the oven and you don't even know.
Oh, my God.
And they told me that will happen. I'm like, okay, doc, I'm not an idiot. I kid you not. Sure as shit. Pull down the oven top to get the pizza out. My fingers are just resting on the inside of the oven door. while I'm pulling out the pizza. Totally paralyzed, couldn't feel it. Skin melted. Had to have it bandaged up at the hospital. 3rd-degree burns. Didn't even know. Holding it underwater, like laughing, making jokes while I just was freaking out, thinking I'm dying. It was insane. So I wanted it off. I'm like, it does nothing, like, but people don't like being stared at, I don't mind it. I've been covered in tattoos at a young age. People were doing that in Australia. So it's, it's not really odd for people to say I was always the punk dude dyeing my hair. And, it was, I was like, okay, there's going to be more of that going on now once I cut it off. Cool. So maybe they'll open the door for me because they're clearly going to know it doesn't work now, because my arm looked completely normal, but it was paralyzed. So people didn't open the door for you because they didn't know. Now people, man, it's great. You know what I mean? People say, excuse me, and they're walking on my left side. And I'm like, people just don't know what to do. It entertains me. It honestly does. Walking past people in the supermarket and they pass you on the side that has an arm. And they're like, oh, sorry. And I'm like, huh? That was a smooth pass. No need for the sorry. Like, or whatever, It's just funny how people react to stuff they don't see every day. So I was okay with that decision is kind of my point. Like, I didn't care. I wanted people to see how I was living.
You obviously have a sense of humor, and you say you're entertained by people doing these weird things, to accommodate you, even though you didn't ask. Have you goofed on people? Like, I don't know. I can't even imagine.
Thought about that. Yeah, me and my daughter, because I have a daughter as well, but different scenario, obviously. A whole nother episode. But me and my daughter, man, we are the best at ideas. And like, we're in the car and she's like, then we could do this and that. And to have a child that you didn't create and feel 100% like you created her is the most amazing feeling in the world. Or she'll do something, I'm like, I did that when I was 10. Like, Mum told me about that, and I'm like, and my mum came over here, she's like, I don't believe it. My mum was blown away, like, when she met her, years ago, way before Grayson. Yeah, we have a very special bond and a very sarcastic bond. And, we think of fantastic stuff, like Halloween. We're going to do it. We got to, it's like the white T-shirt, blood on the sleeve. She runs.
Oh, my gosh.
With the rubber arm, the blood, and she'll film me just asking people if they've seen my arm. And then, like, she'll set up the camera and she could throw the arm over the aisle, over the stuff, and drop next to us, And literally we've thought of, cool stuff like that. And I'm the type that should do it because I really don't care. I'll even take a hit, a night in jail or something. I don't know what the law is about pretending you lost an arm, but you really did. But we have thought about that. Yeah, Halloween, awesome. But yeah.
So when you go shopping for clothes, I mean, I hope this doesn't sound insensitive, but do you ever even consider buying long sleeve shirts now? Do you assume you're going to cut off the left sleeve, or do you only get short sleeves? Is your choice of clothes an issue now for you?
I mean, if it's important function, I'll wear. I was in my brother's wedding, full suit. Just tuck the sleeve into the pocket, smooth, cold as ice, man. You know what I mean? Like, but it's kind of annoying because it like falls out of the pocket. This dangling sleeve. It's like, whoa, Halloween came early. Like, they're like, no, that's Luke's brother. He doesn't have an arm, or whatever. But actually, no, I had my arm, but still, it would still apply because mentally my arm didn't work. So I was already living, even though you guys couldn't tell. So, like, clothing, I would still wear long sleeves because I had an arm. And even I still wear them now my arm's removed. But, yeah, you just got to tuck it into your front pocket. Because I think, like, me cutting it off is kind of like me walking around with the painting that I painted of myself of that. Like, it's just throwing it in people's faces, that kind of thing. Like, especially the long sleeve, short sleeve, like that. What move I do like is I go the thermal, preferably white thermal, cut the right sleeve off the thermal, really high, even with my stump hanging out the bottom, and then I rock one of my T-shirts over the top. I like that move, you know. So that's the only cutting I do with, you know, if I buy a shirt, you know, I keep the sleeve. Maybe I should do the army tuck, how they tuck the sleeve under and they pin it.
I've seen that.
War veteran though, and I get mistaken for those guys out here sometimes. Like, it'll be like Veterans Day, and they're like, "Thanks for your service," and I'm like, "You got it." You know what I mean? Or, you know, you do get that crew that just go, "Man, that dude's a gnarly Marine." You know, I'm like, "No, I'm Australian." But yeah, they're badass. Yeah.
So you're an artist now. Were you an artist prior to your accident?
It's actually funny that you bring that up because it's kind of interesting how I realized, hey, I'm still good at drawing, you know. Was after the accident because I've lost my right arm, so everything was kind of new. Like, do your shoelaces up, Joe. All right, I got to do it differently now. Like, you know, everything's different. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, it's not like, I wonder if I could still draw. You know, it's like, holy shit. Like, how do I spell my name? Because I'm in a weird state and I only have my left hand I can use. Like, this game's not fair. Like, it wasn't. The creative senses that I've always had were on pause, even, put it that way.
Wow.
Does that make sense? It was
yes.
Drumming's over. Bummer. Like, that killed me. That was the only thing. I wasn't even playing music. I wasn't even in a band, drumming at all. And that killed me. That wrecked me. That mentally. Because all I wanted to do was, you know, teach, you know, one of my kids or be able to play for them and really play, you know, like play like I was in a band in front of 30,000 people again, like, and show them, you know, I'm not going to just start a band just so my kids can see me play drums. Like, set up a drum kit in the house and let's rock, you know. So that killed me. But again, the distraction of Grayson, you know. But I've always kind of drawn, and I painted a Ninja Turtle face on one of those, you know, where you take kids and you paint the plates or the pottery, you know, and you can paint stuff with your child. So we took our daughter there and said, "Dad, what are you going to paint?" And I just put up a Ninja Turtle picture, I think Michelangelo, and I painted the face of him on a plate, you know, and then they glaze it. You get to take it home, right? One of those deals. And I killed it. Like, I did kill it. And I was like, whoa. And Chris was like, "You did that left-handed." My daughter was like, "Dad, can I have it?" Like, and again, defining moment, you know, like that would never, ever leave my mind. And now it's just guaranteed because I'm going down that road, right? Like, so for me to think back, for me to walk 20 feet right now and pull that out of the closet, literally that I'm staring at, like, that I forgot was in the closet until like about a month ago, and it blew my mind. I nearly broke down. It was crazy, you know? And I was like, whatever, sorry, it was just messing around. And I was like, whoa, like, this is coming out the way the picture is in my head. And I've always been good at copying. So, like, if you put a picture next to me, I can copy it. So now all these gnarly stuff's happened to me, you know, and the thought process is completely different in so many areas, just in life in general, not even artistically. So then, boom, the creative senses gear up again, you know, and start turning. And I'm like, okay, can't play drums how I used to. All right, let's just go nuts and just paint stuff. And not because I want to go down that road. Like, I was working, you know, like I wasn't like, I should see if I can get professional at this. It's just like, hey, I'm just going to paint a lot. And then people like dug it. And I was like, that's weird because that's really distorted painting I painted. Right? But I guess I'm allowed to kind of paint that stuff, I think, because of what's happened. Like, I'm allowed to, I don't know, I just think of it like this. If people are going to stare at me, then at least stare at something I'm going to make, you know?
The art's amazing. The stuff that I've seen that you posted on your Falcon page, it's beautiful. You would never know that someone did it with their left hand So when you paint now, and actually anything that you do now, when you write, when you sign a check or something, when you paint, when you open a door, given that you only have your left hand, I won't ask if it's your dominant hand, obviously, because it's your only hand. But does it feel very natural to you now, or do you really feel like you're doing something left-handed still?
I don't know how you would describe it comparing it to another hand, but it smokes what my right hand was. If I could have one wish, it'd be so my arm could come back fully functioning and I could play drums now for one moment. That's how good my left hand is. And it's not, oh, man, it must have took ages to learn every single thing. Your mind snaps into overdrive. If you're a motivated person, it definitely helps, right? Because that's deep in you. It's just pushed deep down, but that's still there, so that can rev up. And you go for it, and you take out the trash, and you tie the knot, double knot, and you use your mouth and your left hand. And you do your shoelaces up by holding one of the laces with your left foot while you're doing the right shoe. It's just boom, boom, boom. It was like, I don't know, like MacGyver or something. It's like, but you're not doing it, so it's not like, well, give me credit. You just
right.
I don't know. That's how it was for me. It was just like switch over, cut corners. How am I going to paint a straight line? Can't hold a ruler. Great. Okay, I'm going to lay tape out. And I'm going to use my nose to hold one end, and I'm going to pull it with my left hand. And I'm going to paint along the tape to get a straight line on that painting. But that's how my mind thinks. But and to me, that's not really the weird part. The more weird part is my mind's changed that way with everything.
Wow. Oh, wow. That's amazing.
So I don't look at it like you would. And it's not by choice, I swear to God, because my mind wasn't like this before, let me tell you.
Have you played drums? Have you had the chance to play drums?
Yeah, I could definitely play a beat left-handed. I've done it on an electronic drum kit. But then I want to go into some field that I need the other hand for, so it just gets discouraging. But I was actually thinking, I don't know, I had this idea, I probably shouldn't say this to any old person to hear, but I don't know, I guess I could. I had the idea about drumming, electronic drum kit, over a Marlon Craft song, who's a kind of an underground. He's actually a white guy from New York City, but he's an amazing hip-hop artist. And there's this really funky beat, and I was listening to it the other day, and I was like, I could play that. Like the whole thing. Like I was driving with my knee, playing it with my left hand. Which, I mean, I wasn't doing that, but I was. And I was like, man, I could actually play this beat, and it wouldn't be off, like at all. Like if I was to record it and lay it over it, because I was always pretty good with time. I didn't depend on the metronome. I was always kind of in time. And actually, just as it comes to mind right now, the best compliment I ever got was producer Josh Abraham. He did the Velvet Revolver record. Who's the Scott Weiland and Guns N' Roses made that band called Velvet Revolver. And he just got done recording their album, and he recorded Day of Contempt. And he goes, I'd rather record with you than Matt Sorum of Guns N' Roses. And that's the best drumming compliment I've ever had in my whole career. But it came from a Grammy Award-winning producer and talking about one of the biggest rock drummers in the world. So I was like, and career's over. Don't care. Awesome. I'm good. I obviously didn't think that, but looking back, I knew how important the compliment was, but it's just funny how, my mind looked at. But, yeah.
Well, I wonder, you had said something a little while ago about how you had this vision or this dream of, rocking out on a drum set for your kids, pretending like you're in a 30,000 seat arena, and you just, had this thought in your head that you would love to perform for your kids. Don't you think you still can? Don't you think that they would see you as that rock star still?
Play on Grandpa's electronic drum kit, they've seen that. I would like a drum kit in the house just to see who gets drawn towards it out of both of them. Because Grayson's very still boyish. Grab the sticks. Sick. I'm like, dude, like, let me teach you how to play the song playing in the background that we can't hear because you're just smashing around the parts of the drum kit. But Grayson's creative. That kid can make it straight up. It's amazing to have a boy and kind of attempt to relive your life again in the road they choose. You know, it's kind of going along for the ride, but being there to catch them, obviously when they need it. And I think that will kind of be the icing on the cake, you know, mentally, I think, for me. You know, either of my kids, but, you know, obviously Grayson being a boy, he's going to probably be into the same stuff as me. I'll probably have a better chance of him, you know, going the artsy route if he has those artsy kind of desires that he's starting to show with, you know, drawing instead of doing online learning. And which I'm like, oh, yeah, you know, but it's probably not the best parenting move. You know, I'm like, don't turn your iPad off. But you should keep drawing, you know, don't listen to the teacher. You know, so it's kind of cool to see him copy, but not copy because he wants to do it. It's awesome. Like, Dad, I drew this for you. That's the best feeling in the world. And or because he watched Dad paint some creepy thing on the patio. Okay, like I'm not like, hey, you should paint something for me. You know, randomly I will because I know he likes it. But early on, it was just he would do it. I was like, man. He's like, Dad, that's creepy. He's never really loved my paintings. He's just really honest. And I'm like, yes, because I'm like, that's the vibe I was getting. So when another random person tells you the answer you're hoping to get, it's rad, even if it's from a 5-year-old, you know, because they're honest and they'll tell you what they think. So he'll be like, Dad, that's kind of creepy that he doesn't have eyes. I'm like, okay, he noticed. Like that's what I want people see. Like that was my focal point or whatever it may be, you know. He's like, Dad, that's creepy. And sometimes I'll be bummed. I'm like, I'm not going for that. Damn, better add some more pink and yellows, you know. Like, but he's kind of a cool judge, I guess, or whatever, you know. I value his opinion because he's pretty onto it, you know. And so the route he chooses to go, you know, I'm sure it's going to be down that route, and he's showing early signs of wanting to just break free from the normal world and draw something because school's stressful, staying overnight for 3 hours when you're 5 years old.
Falcon, you're a remarkable man. I think that you should write. You should. Your story is very remarkable, and the level of memory that you have and the way you articulate your memory, I think, is special. I hope someone does a movie about you, a documentary, or if you were to write a book or something. And I'm so happy that you have found so much direction in your life. I could just as easily imagine someone whose life would be over after something like this, but you have taken this route and you have this work ethic and this passion for being a father and an artist and for life that you have just kept going. And it seems like it hasn't slowed you down that much. I want to talk to you again sometime. I just have one more question for you, and you can answer it any way you like. Falcon, who the hell are you?
I'm an Australian soul living in America.